Kang Jae-hwan didn't propose to Amaris Cole. He purchased her, and he wanted her to know the difference. The text message arrived at 3:47 a.m. Your father used your company as collateral. You have 6 hours before seizure. There is one option. Check your email. Amaris's hands shook as she opened her laptop. The email contained no greeting, no explanation, just a contract and a single line: read before sunrise. Decide before your family loses everything. She read, and read again. It wasn't a business proposal. It was a marriage contract, cold, transactional, brutally specific. 1 year. Public appearances. Separate bedrooms. Financial protection in exchange for complete compliance. At the bottom, Kang Jae-hwan, Hyo, Kang Meridian Holdings. She'd heard the name whispered in fashion circles. Korean conglomerate. Luxury brands. Hyos. Media. The kind of family that moved governments with a phone call. At 6:15 a.m., her phone rang. Miss Cole. His voice was quiet, controlled. English with a precise accent. I assume you've read the terms. You want to marry me to save my company? No. His correction was immediate. I want to marry you because your compliance will be useful to me. Saving your company is simply the cost of your agreement. That's honest, he interrupted. I won't lie to you, Miss Cole. Not about this. You'll be my wife in name. You'll appear at my side when required. You'll live in my home. But you will never be under any illusion that this is a love match. She heard her mother sobbing downstairs. Debt collectors were already at the door, their pounding echoing through the townhouse like a death knell. And if I refuse? Silence. Then, by noon, your family will have nothing. I'll make certain of that. Not a threat. The fact. Why me? She whispered. Because you're desperate enough to say yes, and proud enough to survive what comes after. The sun was rising. Through the window, she could see 3 black sedans parked on the street. Men in suits stood beside them, waiting. Watching. I'll sign, Amaris said. I know. There was something almost like satisfaction in his voice. My plane lands in New York in 4 hours. Bring nothing but your passport. Everything else will be provided. The call ended. Amaris stared at her reflection in the darkened laptop screen. She didn't recognize the woman staring back, the one who had just agreed to marry a man she'd never seen, never touched, never trusted. But she recognized the choice. Survive. No matter the cost. A black woman appeared in the doorway, her mother. Her eyes were swollen from crying. Amaris, what's happening? Who are you talking to? I'm fixing this, Mom. How? We don't have the money. Your father, her voice broke. He's gone. He took everything and ran. Victor Cole. Her black American father. The man who'd gambled away 3 generations of hard work in poker games and bad investments. The man who'd used his daughter's fashion company, her dream, as collateral for debts she hadn't known existed. Pack your things, Amaris said quietly. You're going to Aunt Marie's in Connecticut. Today. What about you? I'm going to Seoul. Seoul? Why would you? Because I just sold myself to save us. And if I'm going to do this, I need to know you're safe. Her mother's face went pale. Amaris, what did you do? What I had to. For hours later, Amaris stood in a private terminal at JFK, her passport clutched in hands that wouldn't stop shaking. She'd said goodbye to her mother, closed the studio, left her entire life behind in the span of a morning. A man in a black suit approached, his face expressionless. Miss Cole. I'm Director Han, head of security for the Kang family. This way. She followed him through corridors that smelled of leather and money, past security checkpoints where guards stood like statues, until they reached a private hangar. The jet was massive, but sleek enough to look like it belonged in a museum rather than on a tarmac. Mr. Kang is waiting inside, Director Han said. He'll explain everything before departure. Her heart hammered against her ribs. I thought we were just going. The contract must be signed with witnesses present. Legal requirement. Of course. Everything about this man was calculated. She climbed the stairs on legs that felt like they'd give out any second. The cabin was pure luxury, cream leather seats, polished wood panels, lighting that seemed designed to make you forget you were trapped in a metal tube. And at the far end, behind a mahogany desk, sat Kang Jae-hwan. He was younger than she'd imagined. Mid-30s. His face was sharp and beautiful in a way that seemed deliberately engineered, high cheekbones, a jaw that could cut glass, dark eyes that tracked her movement with unnerving precision. And he was in a wheelchair. Carbon fiber and chrome. Expensive, elegant, and completely at odds with the raw power radiating from him. He didn't stand. Didn't offer his hand. Just watched her approach like a scientist observing an experiment. Sit. It wasn't a request. Amaris sat in the chair across from him, forcing her spine straight. She wouldn't let him see her fear. He slid a tablet across the desk. The contract. Read it one final time. Ask questions now. Once we're airborne, the terms become permanent. She scrolled through 47 pages of legal precision. Every clause is designed to strip her of autonomy while giving her just enough protection to make the deal seem fair. Clause 7. Public appearances as required. Clause 14. Intimate relations prohibited unless mutually agreed upon in writing. Clause 29. Breach of contract results in financial penalties exceeding $10 million. Clause 14, she said, her voice steadier than she felt. Why the prohibition? Because I won't have you claiming coercion later. His tone was clinical. If anything physical happens between us, it will be documented and consensual. I protect myself, Miss Cole. Always. And the penalties for leaving early? Insurance. I'm investing considerable resources in you. If you run, I recoup my losses. By destroying me. Yes. The honesty was almost refreshing in its brutality. 1 year, she said. 1 year. After that you're free. Your debt's cleared. Your company restored. You'll never see me again unless you choose to. She studied him, really studied him. No warmth. No kindness. Just control wrapped in expensive clothing and cold calculation. Why do you need a wife? She asked. A man like you could have anyone. Something flickered behind his eyes. That's not your concern. If I'm signing my life away for 12 months, I think it is. He leaned back, considering her. My family has expectations. Marriage satisfies certain requirements. Your nationality and background make you suitable for my purposes. That's all you need to know. Suitable how? You're African. An outsider. You have no ties to Korean business families, no political connections, no agenda beyond survival. You're perfect precisely because you're nobody. The words should have stung. Instead, they clarified everything. She was a chess piece. Nothing more. Amaris picked up the stylus. And what do I get besides debt relief? Protection. Status. Access to resources most people only dream of. And when this year ends, you'll have connections that will make your fashion brand a global empire. If I survive your family. If you're smart, you will. She signed her name in clean, deliberate strokes. The moment the digital ink settled, Director Han appeared with 2 witnesses in identical black suits. Documents were stamped. Copies made. The contract became binding. Kang Jae-hwan's expression didn't change. He simply nodded once, then turned his wheelchair toward the cabin. We depart in 10 minutes. I suggest you settle in, Miss Cole. It's 16 hours to Seoul. It's Mrs. Kang now, she said, surprising herself with the edge in her voice. He paused, glancing back. No. Not between us. You'll use that name in public. But here in private, you'll always be Miss Cole. A reminder that this is business. Then he disappeared into a private suite, the door closing with a soft, final click. Amaris sat alone in the cabin as the engines began to hum. Through the window, she watched New York shrink beneath her. Her mother was safe. Her company would survive. She'd done what she had to do. But as the jet climbed higher, cutting through clouds toward a country she'd never seen and a life she couldn't imagine, one thought circled through her mind like a vulture. What did I just agree to? The flight was silent. Jae-hwan remained behind closed doors in his private suite, never once emerging. No meals together. No conversation. Just the low hum of engines and the knowledge that with every mile, she was moving further from everything she'd ever known. Amaris tried to sleep but couldn't. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw her father's face. She heard her mother crying. Felt the weight of the contract pressing down on her chest like a stone. She'd married a stranger to save her family. Now she had to figure out how to survive him. 18 hours later, they landed in Seoul. The airport was chaos contained by military precision, photographers pressed against barriers, security teams moving in formation, black cars lined up like a funeral procession. Director Han appeared at her side the moment the cabin door opened. "Stay close to me. Don't speak to anyone. Mr. Kong will handle the press." "What do I?" "Smile. Look grateful. That's all." She descended the stairs into a wall of camera flashes. Questions exploded in Korean and broken English, the noise so overwhelming she couldn't process individual words. Then Jae-hwan was beside her. His wheelchair moved with mechanical grace, positioning himself between her and the press. He took her hand, the first time he'd touched her, and the cameras went absolutely wild. His grip was firm. Possessive. A public claim. "My wife and I appreciate your interest," he said in perfect English, his voice cutting through the chaos like a blade. "But we ask for privacy as we begin our life together." "Thank you." He didn't wait for follow-up questions. The security team closed ranks, and within seconds, Amaris was being guided into the back of a sedan, the door slamming shut on the madness outside. Jae-hwan sat across from her in the spacious back seat, releasing her hand the instant they were alone. "That was the easy part," he said. "What's the hard part?" "My family." The Kong estate made her mother's townhouse look like a garden shed. High stone walls. Armed guards at every gate. The main house sprawled across manicured grounds like a small palace, all traditional Korean architecture mixed with modern glass and steel. Beautiful. Imposing. Absolutely terrifying. "How many people live here?" Amaris asked as the car pulled through the gates. "Currently? 15 family members and staff. Soon, 17. Director Han glanced at her in the rearview mirror. "You and Mr. Kong make the difference." The car stopped at the main entrance. Servants in formal uniforms stood at attention, their faces carefully neutral. Jae-hwan's wheelchair descended via a mechanical lift. "Director Han will show you to your quarters. Dinner is at 8. Don't be late." "Wait, you're not coming with me?" "I have work. But I don't know anyone, I don't speak Korean. You'll learn." His tone wasn't cruel, just matter-of-fact. "This is your home now, Miss Cole. Start acting like it." Then he was gone, his wheelchair gliding across marble floors toward a wing she couldn't see. Director Han gestured toward the entrance. "This way." She followed him through hallways that felt more like museum exhibits than living spaces. Everything was pristine. Expensive. Cold. "The family is gathering in the main hall," Director Han said quietly. "You'll meet them now." "Now? I just got off a 16-hour flight. Madam Kong doesn't believe in delays." He opened double doors into a room the size of her entire studio back in New York. A long table dominated the space, and at its head sat a woman who radiated authority like a physical force. Madam Kong Soo-yeon. Jae-hwan's mother. She was in her 60s, beautiful in the way expensive maintenance and good genes created. Her posture was rigid. Her expression could have frozen fire. Beside her sat a younger woman, mid-20s, stunning, with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Come with it." Jae-hwan's sister. "So," Madam Kong said in flawless English, each word precise as a scalpel. "This is the American." Amaris forced herself to meet the woman's gaze. "My name is Amaris Cole. You're Kong Jae-hwan's wife now. Your maiden name is irrelevant." Madam Kang's eyes traveled over her like she was evaluating livestock. "I hope you understand what you've gotten yourself into?" "I understand the terms perfectly." Amaris answered, then chided herself when she noticed she just slipped. "The terms." Minata's laugh was light, musical, and completely devoid of warmth. "How transactional. But I suppose that's what this is, isn't it? A transaction." "Minasio." Jae-hwan's voice cut through the room. Amaris turned. He'd entered silently, his wheelchair positioning between her and his family like a barrier. Amaris is my wife, he continued, his tone leaving no room for argument. She will be treated with respect. She will be given space to adjust. And anyone who makes her time here unnecessarily difficult will answer to me. Are we clear? Minasio's smile widened. Of course, Appa. I just wanted to welcome her properly. Then you've succeeded. Amaris, I'll show you to your rooms. He turned without waiting, and Amaris followed, grateful to escape the weight of their stares. That went well, she muttered once they were in the hallway. That was them being polite. Wait until dinner. Her quarters were in the West Wing, a suite of rooms that looked like they'd been designed for royalty. Bedroom. Sitting area. Walk-in closet already filled with clothes she'd never seen. Private bathroom with a tub big enough to swim in. Your things from New York will arrive tomorrow, Jae-hwan said from the doorway. If you need anything, there's a call button by the bed. Staff will respond. Where's your room? East Wing. Opposite side of the house. Jae-hwan. Dinner is at 8, he said, already turning to leave. Dress formally. First impressions matter to my mother. Then he was gone, and Amaris was alone in rooms that felt like a beautiful prison. She stood at the window, looking out at gardens that probably cost more to maintain than most people earned in a year, and wondered what the hell she'd gotten herself into. Dinner was a masterclass in psychological warfare. 7 courses. 12 family members. And every single one of them watching Amaris like she was a specimen under glass. She sat beside Jae-hwan, who ate in silence, his focus on his plate. Across from her, Minho kept up a steady stream of polite questions that felt like tiny knives. So, Amaris, your father, he's in business too, isn't he? He was. Minasio's eyebrows lifted with fake concern. Oh, did something happen? Minaso, Jae-hwan's voice was quiet but sharp. I'm just making conversation, Appa. Isn't that what families do? Madame Kong set down her chopsticks with deliberate precision. I think what Minacio is trying to say is that we know very little about your background, Amaris. It would help us welcome you if we understood your situation. Translation: we know exactly who you are and we want to watch you squirm. Amaris took a breath. My family owns a fashion house. Cole Atelier. We specialize in custom designs. How charming, Madame Kong said, her tone suggesting it was anything but. And your marriage to my son, that was rather sudden, wasn't it? We connected. We decided not to wait. The lies tasted like ash. How romantic. Minacio's smile was razor-sharp. Though I suppose when a man like my brother shows interest, most women don't hesitate. That's enough. Jae-hwan set down his utensils, his gaze sweeping the table. Amaris is my wife. This discussion is over. The table fell into tense silence. After what felt like hours, dinner finally ended. Amaris escaped to her room, her hands shaking as she closed the door. She'd survived day 1. Only 364 more to go. The next 3 weeks were a slow descent into isolation. Jae-hwan disappeared into 18-hour workdays, leaving before dawn and returning after midnight. When they did appear together, at charity galas, business dinners, carefully orchestrated photo opportunities, he played the devoted husband with cold perfection. In private, he barely spoke to her. The family was worse. Madame Kong ignored her existence except to issue corrections about posture, speech, behavior. Minho was everywhere, always smiling, always watching, always making small comments that cut deeper than open insults. Your Korean pronunciation is improving, Amaris. Almost passable. That dress is lovely. Very American. I heard your mother is staying with relatives. How difficult that must be for you. Death by 1,000 paper cuts. Amaris tried to carve out space for herself. She set up a small studio in an unused room, sketching designs, working with fabrics, trying to hold onto the one thing that had always been hers. Then one morning she found the room empty. Every sketch, every fabric sample, every tool, gone. She found a servant in the hallway. Where are my things? The studio I set up. The woman looked uncomfortable. Madame Kong ordered the room cleared. She said it was needed for other purposes. Other purposes? That was my workspace. I'm sorry, miss. Everything has been moved to storage in the basement. Amaris found Minacio in the garden, sipping tea in the morning sun. Did you have something to do with my studio being moved? Minacio looked up, her expression perfectly innocent. Your studio? Oh, you mean that little hobby room. Mother felt it was inappropriate for you to commandeer family space for personal projects. Surely you understand. Jae-hwan gave me permission to use that room. And mother outranks him in matters of the household. You should learn how things work here, Amaris, before you embarrass yourself further. She took a delicate sip of tea. You're only here temporarily. Best not to get too comfortable. Amaris's hands clenched into fists. I'm his wife. For now. But I will figure you out. That night, Amaris waited outside Jae-hwan's office until nearly 1 in the morning. When he finally emerged, his face was drawn with exhaustion. We need to talk, she said. He looked at her like she was an interruption to his schedule. Can it wait? No. He sighed, then gestured her inside. His office was exactly what she'd expected. Massive desk, wall-to-wall screens showing stock tickers and financial data, shelves lined with books in 3 languages. He settled behind his desk. What is it? Your sister is sabotaging me. Your mother treats me like I'm contaminating the house just by breathing. And you, her voice cracked. You act like I don't exist unless there's a camera present. And? His tone was flat, detached. And I'm your wife. Doesn't that mean anything? You're my wife on paper, Miss Cole. I told you from the beginning this wasn't a love match. I've upheld my end of the contract. Your debts are cleared. Your mother is safe. Your company has funding. What happens inside this house is politics. So I'm on my own. You've always been on your own. That's why you said yes. The words hit harder than a slap. She turned to leave, but his voice stopped her. Amaris. She looked back. If Minacio crosses a line, a real line, tell me. But you need to prove you can handle this family. Because if you can't, the contract doesn't matter. They'll destroy you, and I can't spend every moment protecting you from social warfare. It wasn't comfort, but it was acknowledgement. I can handle it, she said quietly. We'll see. She left him there, surrounded by screens and strategies, and wondered if she'd just lied to both of them. 2 weeks later, everything changed. Amaris was in the library, the one room Minho never seemed to invade, when she found the file tucked between medical journals. Unmarked except for a date 3 years old. Curiosity won over caution. She opened it. Medical records. Toxicology reports. Police investigation notes. Photographs of Jae-hwan in a hospital bed, unconscious, connected to machines. She read slowly, her heart sinking with each page. Poisoning. Deliberate. The substance had caused severe neurological damage, destroying the motor neurons in his spine. He'd survived, but the ability to walk had been stolen from him permanently. The investigation had gone nowhere. No arrests. No suspects named publicly. But there were handwritten notes in the margins. Jae-hwan's handwriting, precise and angry. Family dinner. Only 6 people present. No outside access. The implication made her stomach turn. Someone in his own family had tried to kill him. You shouldn't have that. Amaris spun around. Jae-hwan sat in the doorway, his expression unreadable. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. Put it back. She closed the file with shaking hands. Jae-hwan, what happened to you? Nothing that concerns you. You were poisoned. By someone in your own family. His jaw tightened. And yet here I am. Still breathing. Still running this company. Still more dangerous than anyone who tried to destroy me. Why didn't you go to the police? Press charges? Get justice? Because suspicion and proof are different things, Miss Cole. I know who did this. I've always known. But until I can prove it in a way that destroys them completely, publicly, irreversibly, I wait. She stared at him, understanding dawning like cold light. And that's why you needed a wife. To force them into making a mistake. He didn't deny it. You're a variable they didn't anticipate. Your presence changes the power dynamics in this house. Makes certain people nervous. And nervous people make mistakes. So I'm bait. Your protection, he corrected. As long as you're here, playing the role of my devoted wife, I'm not a vulnerable target. I'm a man with leverage. With witnesses. With someone who might notice if something happens to me. Amaris set the file on the table between them. Who was it? That's not your concern. If I'm bait, I deserve to know what I'm walking into. For the first time since she'd met him, Kang Jae-hwan looked uncertain. Almost vulnerable. My sister, he said quietly. I believe Minicio poisoned me. With my mother's knowledge, if not her direct assistance. The room seemed to tilt. Why? Because I was father's chosen heir. The favorite son. And they wanted the company for themselves. They wanted me gone. His voice was clinical, emotionless. They failed. I survived. And now I'm going to take everything from them. Amaris sat slowly, her mind racing. You married me to help you destroy your own family. I married you to help me reclaim what's mine. There's a difference. She should have been terrified. Should have demanded he void the contract and send her home. But instead, she felt something unexpected. Understanding. They were both trapped. Both fighting enemies who should have protected them. Both doing whatever it took to survive. What do you need me to do? She asked. He looked surprised. You're not going to demand I release you from the contract? And go where? Back to nothing? You were right, Jae-hwan. I've always been on my own. At least here, I'm fighting for something. Something shifted in his expression. Respect, maybe? Or recognition of a kindred spirit. Then stay alert. If Minicio does anything that feels wrong, you tell me immediately. Document it if you can. I need evidence. And if she slips up? Then we end this. All of it. The promise in his voice was cold and absolute. Amaris stood. 1 year. That's what the contract says. 1 year. Then let's make it count. She left him surrounded by files and revenge plans, and for the first time since arriving in Seoul, she didn't feel like a victim. She felt like a weapon. And Minhyo had no idea what was coming. The board meeting happened 4 days later. Amaris wasn't supposed to attend. Wives didn't sit in on corporate strategy sessions. But Jae-hwan had insisted, overruling his mother's objections with a single sentence. She's my wife. She stays. So Amaris sat in the corner of the conference room, watching as 20 executives filed in. Their reactions to her presence ranged from curiosity to barely concealed hostility. Minicio arrived last, her tailored suit and confident strides screaming ambition. Her smile tightened when she saw Amaris. How domestic. Does she take notes for you, Appa? She observes, Jae-hwan said without looking up from his tablet. Sit down, Minicio. We're starting. The meeting was brutal. Minicio had prepared an elaborate presentation about a proposed merger with a Japanese tech firm. The numbers looked impressive on the surface. Projected growth, market expansion, increased revenue streams. She spoke with polish and confidence, clearly expecting approval. Then Jae-hwan began asking questions. The acquisition costs seem low. What's the breakdown? Minicio pulled up a slide. As you can see. I can see what you're showing me. I'm asking what you're not showing me. Her smile faltered. I don't understand. The due diligence report. Where is it? It's being finalized. So you're asking this board to approve a multi-billion won merger without complete due diligence? The fundamentals are sound. The fundamentals are garbage. Jae-hwan pulled up his own data on the main screen. This company you want to acquire is underwater. They're hiding debt in shell subsidiaries. Their IP portfolio is mostly licensing agreements that expire in 2 years. And their CEO is currently under investigation for fraud. The room went silent. Minicio's face paled. That information isn't public. No. But it's real. Which means either you didn't do your homework, or you knew and didn't care. His voice was ice. Which is it? This is, you're undermining me in front of the entire board. I'm protecting this company from a catastrophic mistake. Motion denied. Meeting adjourned. The executives filed out in uncomfortable silence. Minacio remained frozen at the podium, her hands gripping the edges like she might collapse without support. You humiliated me, she said, her voice shaking with rage. You humiliated yourself with sloppy research and overconfidence. This is because of her, isn't it? Minacio's gaze cut to Amaris like a blade. You're trying to prove something. That you don't need family anymore. That you have her instead. I don't need anyone, Jae-hwan said quietly. That's what you've never understood. I survived your attempt to kill me. I rebuilt myself. And now I'm taking back everything you tried to steal. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. Minacio's eyes widened. You can't prove. Not yet. But I will. She turned and left, her heels clicking against marble like gunshots. Amaris exhaled slowly. You just declared war. I declared war 3 years ago when I woke up in a hospital bed unable to move my legs. He turned his wheelchair toward her. This was just the opening salvo. That night, Amaris couldn't sleep. She wandered the estate gardens under a full moon, trying to process everything. The confrontation, the danger, the realization that she was now entangled in something far more dangerous than a simple contract marriage. Voices drifted from the far side of the garden. She moved closer, staying in the shadows, and recognized Minacio's sharp tones speaking rapid Korean. Then Madame Kang's voice, lower, colder. Minso switched to English mid-sentence, her voice cutting. The American is the problem. As long as she's here, he won't be vulnerable. Then we make her leave, Madame Kang replied. Force him to choose between her and this family. How? Everyone has a weakness. Find hers. Exploit it. Make her want to run before the year is up. Amaris's blood turned to ice. She backed away slowly, her heart pounding, then ran back to her room and locked the door. They were coming for her. Not just socially. Not just with cutting remarks and petty sabotage. They wanted her gone. And they'd do whatever it took to make it happen. She grabbed her phone, then stopped. Who could she call? Her mother was safe but fragile. She had no friends here. No allies except. A knock at her door made her jump. It's Director Han. Mr. Kang requests your presence in his office. Now. She followed him through silent hallways, her mind still reeling from what she'd overheard. Jae-hwan was at his desk, his expression grim. Multiple screens showed news articles, social media posts, trending topics. All about her. We have a problem, he said. I know. I just heard your mother and sister planning to. Not them. You. He turned one of the screens toward her. A news article. Photos of her father stumbling drunk out of a bar in New York, his face red and bloated. The headline screamed, Kang Aris's father, gambling addict and fraud? Below it, dozens of comments tearing apart her family. Her background. Amaris's stomach dropped. They leaked this. And this is just the beginning. Tomorrow there will be more. Your mother's medical bills. Your company's near bankruptcy. Every embarrassing detail they can excavate. They're trying to force me to annul the marriage to protect the family reputation. Can you do that? Legally? The contract allows for termination in cases of reputational harm to the Kang family. Her heart stopped. So this is it. I'm done. He was quiet for a long moment, his dark eyes studying her face. Will you? She whispered. And the contract? No. The word hit her like oxygen after drowning. But this changes everything, he continued. They're going to come after you directly now. Publicly. Viciously. And I can't protect you from every attack, every scandal, every manufactured crisis. Then teach me to protect myself. He raised an eyebrow. You want to fight them? I didn't come this far to run at the first real threat. Something that might have been a smile touched his lips. All right, Miss Cole. Then we fight together. But you need to understand, this won't be clean. It won't be fair. And by the time it's over, you might not recognize yourself. I already don't, she said. Might as well make it count. This time he did smile. The first one she'd ever seen from him. Welcome to the war. The attacks began at sunrise. Leaked photos. Fabricated quotes. Anonymous sources claiming Amaris had seduced Jae-hwan for money, that she was manipulating him, isolating him from his family. The press camped outside the estate gates. Social media exploded with hatred from people who'd never met her. But Amaris didn't hide. Instead, she did exactly what Jae-hwan told her. She appeared in public with her head high and her smile perfect. She attended charity galas in designer gowns. She gave carefully scripted interviews about supporting her husband's vision for the company. She became the devoted wife. The American success story. The woman who'd married for love, not money. And slowly the narrative began to shift. People started asking questions. Why was the Kang family so hostile to their son's wife? What were they trying to hide? Min Seo's attacks became frantic, desperate, sloppy. And then Jae-hwan struck. The announcement came during a live-streamed shareholder meeting. The entire country watched as Kang Jae-hwan, calm and composed behind his desk, revealed 3 years of meticulously gathered evidence. Financial fraud, embezzlement, shell companies, falsified reports. Every trail led directly back to Min Seo. The room erupted. Cameras flashed like lightning. Shareholders demanded answers. Min-ho stood at her seat, her face drained of color. You can't prove. I already have. Jae-hwan's voice cut through the chaos like a blade. Forensic accountants. 3 years of documentation. Signed confessions from your accomplices. You stole from this company. From our family. And when I got too close to discovering it, you tried to kill me. The silence that followed was deafening. That's insane. Min Seo's voice cracked. Mother, tell them he's lying. Madame Kang sat motionless, her face a mask of ice. But her hands trembled on the table. Jae-hwan pressed a button. A recording played through the speakers. Min Seo's voice, clear as day, talking about the poisoning, about covering tracks, about waiting for another opportunity. You recorded me? Min Seo's voice was a whisper of horror. For 3 years I've recorded everything. Every conversation. Every meeting. Every threat. He leaned forward. Did you really think I'd wait for justice when I could create it myself? Security moved in. Director Han was already at the exits, blocking Min Seo's escape. Kang Min Seo, an officer said, stepping forward with handcuffs, you're under arrest for attempted murder, fraud, and embezzlement. Min Seo tried to run. Made it 3 steps before guards caught her arms. This isn't over, she screamed as they dragged her toward the doors. You'll regret this. All of you. The doors closed on her fury. Jae-hwan turned to his mother. You have until tomorrow morning to resign from the board voluntarily. If you don't, I'll release the evidence of your involvement. Your choice. Madame Kang stood slowly, her dignity intact even in defeat. You've become cruel, Jae-hwan. No, mother. I've become exactly what you taught me to be. A survivor. She left without another word. The meeting adjourned in stunned silence. The press went wild. Within hours, the story dominated every news outlet in Asia. The Kang family civil war. The attempted murder. The years-long revenge plot. And at the center of it all, the American wife who had somehow helped bring down an empire. Amaris found Jae-hwan alone in his office hours later, staring out at the Seoul skyline as the sun set behind glass towers. You did it, she said quietly. We did it. He glanced at her. You played your part perfectly. They underestimated you. That was their mistake. She moved closer. What happens now? Now. He turned his wheelchair to face her fully. Now we decide what this marriage actually is. Her heart stuttered. What do you mean? The contract expires in 7 weeks. You're free to leave. Your family is safe. Your company is fully funded and globally connected. You don't owe me anything. And if I stay? The question hung between them like a held breath. Why would you? He asked. You got what you needed. The year is almost over. Because somewhere between signing that contract and watching you take down your enemies, I stopped seeing you as a transaction. She took a breath. I see you, Jae-hwan. Not the wheelchair. Not the CEO. Not the wounded heir. I see the man who rebuilt himself from nothing. And I think you see me too. This wasn't supposed to happen. I know. He was quiet for a long moment, his dark eyes searching her face. I can't give you a normal marriage. I'm still broken in ways that may never heal. And my family, what's left of it, will always be complicated. Your family is gone. The ones who mattered, and as for the rest. She knelt in front of his wheelchair, meeting his eyes at level. I didn't fall for you because you could walk. I fell for you because you refused to stay down. His hand moved slowly, almost hesitantly, until his fingers brushed her cheek with devastating gentleness. If you stay, he said quietly, it won't be a contract anymore. It'll be real. Messy. Complicated. I'll probably frustrate you. You'll definitely frustrate me. And I can't promise it'll be easy. I can handle messy. Can you handle me? She smiled. I think that's the one thing I'm actually good at. He kissed her then. Not desperate. Not passionate. Just real. Honest. The kind of kiss that meant more than any contract ever could. When they pulled apart, he rested his forehead against hers. 7 weeks, he said. 7 weeks until what? Until we decide if this is permanent. No contract. No terms. Just this. I've already decided. So have I. But we're doing this right. No more transactions. No more obligations. When that contract expires, if you stay, it'll be because you chose me. Not because you needed me. Deal. He smiled. A real smile that transformed his entire face. Then let's see where this goes, Amaris Cole. Mrs. Kong, she corrected softly. Not yet. Not until it's real. Then make it real. And for the first time since she'd signed her name on that tablet in a private jet, Amaris felt something she'd forgotten existed. The final 7 weeks passed like a dream. Amaris relaunched Cole Atelier with full Kong Meridian backing, her designs hitting runways in Paris, Milan, and New York. Critics called it a triumph. She called it freedom. Jae-hwan underwent experimental treatment for the chronic pain he'd hidden for years. Not to walk, he'd made peace with the wheelchair, but to live without the constant reminder of what had been stolen from him. Amaris held his hand through every procedure, every setback, every small victory. They traveled. Learned from each other without cameras or contracts between them. And when the 1-year mark arrived, there was no announcement. No ceremony. No dramatic gesture. Just Jae-hwan, sitting across from her at breakfast in their private dining room, sliding a small velvet box across the table. What's this? Amaris asked. Open it. Inside was a ring. Simple. Elegant. A single diamond set in white gold. Nothing like the ostentatious piece he'd given her for show. The contract expired at midnight, he said. This isn't a contract. If you want it. Amaris picked up the ring, her throat tight with emotion. No terms, she asked. Just one. Stay because you want it, not because you have to. She slid the ring onto her finger beside the fake one she'd worn for a year. I want to. His smile was everything. Then welcome to the family, Mrs. Kong. For real this time. She laughed, the sound bright and genuine and free. Outside, Seoul glittered in the morning light. Her mother was healthy and living in a beautiful apartment Jae-hwan had insisted on providing. Her father was in rehab, finally getting the help he needed. Cole Atelier was a global brand. And beside her sat a man who'd bought her freedom and accidentally given her something better. A choice. It wasn't the life she'd planned. But it was hers. Built not on obligation but on something infinitely more valuable. The decision to stay when she could have left. To love when she could have walked away. To choose him every single day, not because a contract demanded it, but because her heart did. Kong Jae-hwan hadn't proposed to her. He'd purchased her. But Amaris Cole had done something he never expected. She'd purchased him right back. If you've made it this far, thank you for watching. Sometimes the best love stories start as transactions and end as choices. Sometimes the people who save us are the ones we save in return. What did you think of Jae-hwan and Amaris? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We read every single one and love hearing what resonated with you. If you enjoyed this story of second chances, contract marriages, and finding love in the most unexpected places, hit that like button and subscribe for more stories about power, redemption, and the kind of love you choose every single day. Until next time, remember, the best contracts are the ones we write with our hearts, not our pens.